This is a crazy and gross. Crazy story. Hey, there's Lisa Simpson in there. Yes, that's Lisa Simpson. Education is being attacked in Pennsylvania. And I don't like this headline. The right-wing scheme to upend public education for $125 an hour. Yes, it's right-wing, but more importantly, the dumbasses that are getting hired by these school districts. And here's what's going on. So this guy, Jordan Adams, he delivers a Zoom presentation. So what's going on here? On June 20th, educational consultant Jordan Adams delivered a much anticipated presentation to the Penridge School Board, revealing his recommended changes to the Eastern Pennsylvania School District Social Studies curriculum. He's the founder of Vermilion Education. He appeared via Zoom. We'll look into who Vermilion Education is, right? They have the word million right in the thing, so it's just funny. But I know that that's not. Anyway, the curriculum experts who work for the district recommended that first grade social studies focus on rules and responsibilities, geography, and important people and places. Adams instead proposed that 6 and 7-year-olds learn American history, 1492 to 1787, and world history, ancient Near East. Okay. In his presentation, first reported by the Bucks County Beacon, Adams did not discuss how teachers could provide instruction on nearly 300 years of American history to students still learning to read and tie their shoes. Mm-hmm. Nor did Adams explain why his chronological approach was superior to the school district's proposed curriculum. He spent less than 90 seconds covering his proposal to completely restructure social studies for grades 1 through 5 before moving on to his recommendations for older students. Because that's not important or anything.
Oh my goodness.
Popular Information asked Adams about his processes for curriculum development and how he came to the conclusion that his proposed changes would be beneficial to first graders and other students. He responded that he was asked to provide a high-level overview, and his recommendations aim to provide students with a comprehensive knowledge and understanding of American and world history and civics, reflective of historical figures, ideas, and events that have had an outsized impact on the world today. What's going on here?
What indeed?
Don't talk about any of the controversial stuff.
I smell a rat. Adams also proposed changes to the curriculum for 7th and 8th grade reading and language arts courses. What? He suggested that the book's district staff,
the outsiders,
had selected for these courses could lead to destructive behavior on part of these students.
Who's in that movie?
Yeah. As an example, he cited The Outsiders. The Socials versus Tom Cruise and C. Thomas Howell and Patrick Swayze. It's got like
Tom Cruise.
They have it. Oh, speaking of which,
and Swayze, and there's like a ton of weird ones in that movie, right? That you're like, why are they there?
Rob Lowe. Rob Lowe's in that movie.
Rob Lowe. That's exactly who I'm thinking of. Rob Lowe's in that movie. Like, with the little like white t-shirts, and they got like the cigarettes rolled in the sleeve. It's like that movie. Like the hardest crime they got is someone's got a stiletto knife. That's what they got. You know, little switchblade.
Have a Tom Cruise. Have a Tom Cruise.
I'm gonna stab you. You have a leather jacket with a patch I don't like. You know.
Well, also I feel like kind of what that feels like. This is going to sound funny because I was adopted by boomers, and one of their kind of claims to fame is that they were the first generation of actual teenagers, right? They were the first generation of people, like young people with their own unique culture.
Because they didn't have to like work on the farm
and go to war.
That didn't just work on the farm. That went and did childlike things until they were 16, 18. So that's what that generation actually represents.
They went to the beach party discos, and you know
why teens have been attached
the
to
drive-in
since it came out for that reason. It represented that countercultural. I'm
teen
like,
angst.
This is us, and that's the grown-ups. That was what that really was. So that's why
Easy Rider, like American Graffiti.
Exactly.
Like
what's funny this whole thing, he doesn't recommend removing the outsiders from the required reading, which is weird.
Right.
No.
Right.
But he added that the district needed to ensure all texts are free from sexualized content that may be best left to the home and to parent discretion.
I think is in the outsiders.
Right.
I think there's.
He said the books were selected by the district would raise questions about why books with sexualized content were selected as opposed to other worthwhile works, right? So one book singled out is War and Watermelon, okay, by Rich Wallace. War and Watermelon is about a 12-year-old growing up in the time of Vietnam and Woodstock, but Adams focuses on a few snippets of sexualized content that he apparently believes is inappropriate for middle school students. Two of the passages involve girls who weren't wearing bras. Another involves a 12-year-old boy noticing that a 12-year-old girl had developed breasts. So?
Twilight, though. Twilight's fine. You can leave that.
Well, no, he would definitely have a big problem with that.
Room watching her sleep, that's okay. But if you notice that she had breasts, that's where I draw the line.
You know what's going to happen?
Here's what's crazy.
The Satanists are going to come in and be like, well, you can't have the Bible in here. You know,
all right,
that's got a ton of sexualized content. We got to get rid of that.
It was an unusual approach.
Shit.
It was an unusual approach for a consultant. The school district is paying thousands of dollars to provide guidance. Notably, Adams, who's only 31, does not have any experience developing curricula for public schools. According to him, he launched his company in March. It was formally incorporated in December of last year, so it's actually 6 months old now.
I smell Christian public schools is what I smell. That's what's happening.
Under questioning from
Christian
the Penrith
private schools, I mean.
Well, under questioning from the Penrith school board member, he admitted that Penridge was Vermillion's only public school client. When he's asked if he has any other clients, he says he's not at liberty to share about ongoing or potential work with other clients. This guy's a bullshit artist.
It's purely reactionary, and that's really what you see by how bullshit it is. That's how ramshackle and thrown together it really feels. It's because it's reactionary. It's not inspired.
Right. So in an interview,
he's not allowed to break the rules of confessional. You know this.
Well, the school board member tells Popular Info that his presentation was amateurish, horrible, and reflected a total lack of preparation. He was particularly disturbed that Adams has already billed the district $7,500, the cost of 60 hours of work under the contract, to craft his recommendations. Just to even recommend the shit, he got $7,500. So, funny enough, he appears to have deleted his LinkedIn profile. He doesn't hold any degrees in education. In 2013, he got a bachelor's in political science from Hillsdale College, a private Christian institution known for its right-wing ideology. Here's where the right-wing stuff starts to come into play.
Oh, no. Wait, I don't know how it happened, but I ended up getting an email from Hillsdale College. I think it's because it's close to me. Or it was where I lived. Anyway, they sent me the craziest email during George Floyd, where it was the craziest thing that was if this is the time we need to stand up because the Black people are doing, and I was so shocked that it was so blatant. It was just wild. Yeah, Hillsdale College is not just oh, we're right wing, we're very conservative, we believe in Jesus and all this other. It's very blatant once you get into their email stream.
Anybody ever heard of the University of Dallas? I have never heard of this university in my life, but somehow this guy got a master's degree in humanities from there, which is another private conservative school. He later returned to Hillsdale College as an employee, where he promoted a K-12 curriculum developed by the college known as the 1776 curriculum, which is favored by right-wing activists. By the way, it's also they're attacking
America
critical race theory.
Bad.
Right.
Yes.
America, fuck yeah. Yep. That's basically
George Washington was the coolest dude, you know. It's that.
Right.
Boston Tea Party, everybody. That's all you need to know. America.
But somehow, nevertheless, Adams was able to secure a contract with the Penridge School District in April, which stipulates that he will provide consulting services relating to assisting district staff in the review and development of curricula. He's being paid $125 an hour for this work with no limit on the number of hours, no specific deliverables, and no termination date. Dude, this smells like handing a buddy some kind of a sweetheart deal all day long, right?
Yeah.
So
You mean politics as usual?
So the contract to the agenda, the contract was added to the agenda less than 48 hours before the meeting by board member Jordan Blomgren. It drew immediate objections from Superintendent David Bolton. In an email, he noted that there was no money budgeted for the contract. All right. No one from the school district had reviewed the contract, and no one was involved in developing the curriculum for Penridge schools was consultant. I don't understand how this guy got
David
paid.
Bolton?
His concerns were ignored by a majority of the board, who voted to approve the contract on a 5-4 vote. There's something political heavily going on here that is completely screwing over the students. Further, he said he believed it was an effort to incorporate the 1776 curriculum without the involvement of administrators and teachers. Public
That's
record.
exactly what it is. That's the only thing he has to his name. He has no other, he's like they just said, he's not some accomplished scholar, even among his own peers. He doesn't have some sort of something that these people know about. So it's like what he has is essentially this grift that he was able to jump on when Trump was so offended about the 1619 project, which wasn't like, I mean, I'm not going to say like it was a bad thing, but I'm not going to say it was exceptionally profound or was saying anything crazy in and of itself.
No.
But for me, it felt like the most basic and broken down of American history, like literally the facts, no emotions, no, like it was very basic. It wasn't for anybody but the person who couldn't grasp these basic concepts initially. So it's like when we have this new project, that's what it feels like. This is reactionary. It's not the same passion that the 1619 project had for all of its flaws can't be replicated by this same thing, which is essentially, like you guys were just saying, George Washington cherry tree nonsense. It's not
right.
Yep. Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, I mean, and this is
Republican Abraham Lincoln, because right now he would not be a Republican, by the way.
Right.
Anyway,
well,
but
this is
he wouldn't be a Democrat.
Kind of the
these days,
distractionary nonsense of like people getting upset at CRT.
This is crazy though.
Like because they don't understand what it is even to begin with. It's not what you think it is. It's like one thing.
Project. It wasn't what they thought it was. It was very basic. It's like reading a children's book of
it's literally
Bridget.
Critical race theory. All it is that it states that the U.S. legal system disproportionately affects minorities.
People of color.
Which is literally what happens.
But here, public records obtained by Bucks County Beacon, shared with Popular Info, revealed that beginning in early 2023, this was members of the Penridge School Board were already pushing to overlay their 1776 curriculum in Penridge classes.
Right.
Then they hired a consultant.
Whitewash.
Then they hired a consultant to push it. Right. Vermillion's curricular recommendations draw from a variety of different resources depending on the goals and parameters outlined by a district. Yeah, outlined saying we want that curriculum. And he said, yeah, I'll tell you to do that. Initially, his contract was paired with a proposal from board members to eliminate the school district's 4 curriculum supervisors. But that proposal was scrapped after board member Jonathan Russell noted that the school board is required to ensure that employees charged with developing curriculum have appropriate qualifications, which includes 5 years of teaching and a principal or supervisory certification, which he admitted he didn't possess. So what's he even doing there? So he told them that he was qualified based on his combined 10 years of experience teaching history, civics, and economics to K through 12 students, coaching teachers, and reviewing and writing curricula. Well, which curricula? This includes 5 years of working at Hillsdale on that curriculum and 5 years working as a teacher, including time as a substitute while attending grad school. Dude, this guy's throwing in whenever he babysat for somebody, that's a teaching job now. Like, dude, he's scraping the bottom of the barrel to meet the qualifications.
Right.
So how can a consultant with little experience and no academic credentials land a $125 an hour contract? This, to me, is the big question. Well, it appears to have attracted Moms for Liberty, a right-wing advocacy group concerned about woke ideology. The first school district that considered hiring Vermilion Education was Sarasota County in Florida. The chair of that county school board is Bridget Ziegler, who is a co-founder of Moms for Liberty. Here you start to have the links. Follow the money, follow the corruption.
It's always Moms for Liberty. It feels like that's always, whenever we rip the mask off like Scooby-Doo,
I mean,
it's always Moms.
They could have went with a better name.
But who's behind that?
It should really be Mills for Freedom, and I think they know that, you know? Like, that would be way better branding.
It's the LF part of the MILF that's the problem, because most people don't want to touch these women. But anyway, that's another story.
You know? So
Adams was recruited.
Like half the fight is like, don't touch us, don't look at us.
Right. Puritanical. That's right. Don't look at our children. Right. Our children are being hypersexualized and told that they can be either, no matter what. And
it's so, and what they're pointing to is so benign. I almost feel like next I'm gonna feel somehow drawn to be defending from Romeo and Juliet or something that's like, obviously.
Come on, they committed suicide. You can't show that to children. No. That's promoting suicide.
You know, so many things, like it's just fascinating because pretty much all of the classics, but certain classics, even if they show that, including the Bible, which they managed to bring back in Utah schools, not like a week and a half, 2 weeks later. You know, I mean, I don't know if any of the rest of you have read some of the
Oh my God. It's Sarasota. There's okay. I had to read a Land Remembered for Florida history about 1,000 times that had like multiple instances of like straight up doing it. Like they're just doing it, you know?
I have to remember all the times I read Huck Finn. Same thing. Like I would be the only black kid in class listening to the N-word be read out again and again.
Bro,
Tom Sawyer, same thing.
The what's the one about witches and whatnot? The Tempest.
Ooh,
right? That everyone's got to read, where there's literally a scene of whipping a black woman to lie. Like torture, you know, as well as like sex with minors, which is like
absolutely
right at the beginning.
What a surprise that this asshole at Jordan Adams has also drawn the attention of the DeSantis administration to review math textbooks submitted by publishers.
CRT.
In one of his reviews, he concluded that a math textbook may violate the state's prohibition against CRT because one of the math problems involved data to racial profiling in policing, because that doesn't really happen, right? According to him, the math problem may be an effort to indoctrinate students with the belief that racism is embedded in society and legal systems, and or that race is the most important factor in considering an aspect of society. Don't ever tell this guy about redlining. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
Well, imagine that. Imagine if a kid saw one statistic and was like, that doesn't seem right with how things should be.
The reason they don't want this taught, this is a problem, right? This is a symptom of the problem. They don't want kids to figure out what actually causes this problem and how to fix it, which is the issue.
It's supposed to be, this is how things are.
This is the system, right?
Issue. That's It's not like, we could solve it. No, we can't solve poverty. Some people are just always poor. Some people are just always hungry inherently. That's just the way things are. Some people are always at the bottom. Some people are always judged by the color of their skin.
It's just because the sweet Lord made it that way. You know,
it's just how it is. We can't change it. What are you trying to do?
So what a surprise! So you got Bridget Ziegler in April cheering on Adams' contract with Penridge, saying that he would conduct a woke audit of the curriculum. I want I want to smash this guy already. I got to tell you.
Smash boy.
You know, later on last week, Adams appeared at the Mobs for Liberty National Conference in Philly. Oh, RFK Jr. was there. He could have said hi to RFK Jr., DeSantis, and Trump.
Look.
Right.
Well, here's what I propose. That was at UFC. What I say is all the Dagestanis who are, you know, nice brown Muslim people who, you know,
smash boy.
will fuck up everyone in the room.
Boy.
Please let them come over.
Oh my God! But
you know,
here's what happened. All right, so
Habibi, please.
I don't know if you remember, but back in 2020, this is similar to how the Tea Party and how the Freedom Caucus started to go after state legislatures and started to go after smaller House seats, and how they started to flip them and have an impact at the local level. They started protesting. Well, what they've been doing since 2020 is infiltrating and getting elected to school boards and affecting the education curriculum. And so this guy at this conference led a strategy session, which was closed to the media, entitled "The First 100 Days Getting Flipped School Boards to Take Action." So that's exactly what he declined to elaborate on what was discussed, because God forbid anybody find out that he's telling them that you have to use your leverage to override the will of the community to implement your Christo-fascist agenda. Yeah, that's what he's doing. All right. So hiding the ball. Yeah, as part of his effort to secure a contract with Sarasota, he sent the board members a brief pitching for Million Education and Services. All right. And that begins with a letter to school board members. In the letter, he promotes it as an extension of the right-wing movement that has elected new school board members intent on radically reshaping public education. Somebody is propping this guy up. Somebody is funding this whole thing, and it's a front. All right.
As always with a lot of these right-wing grifts. I mean, even the 1776 or whatever he's doing project, how did that even get the same funding? Like, how did that get like way more funding in such a short amount of time as a reactionary project? They always have just so much money to throw at these things, and him included with his $125 an hour.
Right.
Of, you know, paycheck or however he's charging people for what expertise with what experience. That's kind of how it always seems to go. It's not about your expertise, your experience, your education. It's about what are you willing to fight for? What are you willing to put your neck on the line for? How far are you willing to take the grift? And it's an incredibly lucrative grift.
And this was just one contract from one district, and this guy's trying to get contracts all over the country at districts.
Exactly.
All right, and he's making gobs of cash doing this and being funded.
And what did he do? It's not even like we can say, oh, he made 100-page a workbook. He made this thing. Oh, he has this game he's made for kids. There is nothing to show.
It's a PowerPoint
except for that 90 seconds of blurb.
It's a PowerPoint.
What did he get paid for?
Yep. Well, no, he pitches a character program audit because he claims many programs focusing on building character now feature ideologies hostile to shared understandings of right conduct and responsibility, undermining the wishes and efforts of parents to raise an upright young men and women. What is that, upright young men and women? Christian. This is what it's all about. It's all about his religiosity. All right. He pitches himself as a mole that can be embedded within the school district to implement policies over the objections of staff members. Oh my God.
Which we have to admit is a Christian fascist movement. That's the thing.
100%.
Is this isn't anybody else. What he's saying there as a mole, he is a Christian mole. This is a Christian doctrine. I mean, in a very specific type of Christian too. A very specific sect.
Fundamentalist,
conservative.
It's near me.
Fundamentalist.
Yeah.
There's very specific sects that are doing this, but that is what the Christo-fascist movement is, and what they are doing is focusing on religion, which I think is so important because, you know, as somebody who is a pagan, who does practice an African traditional religion, it boggles my mind because we're often, I mean, in media, in just everyday conversation painted as the devil, as people trying to take over. There's this insidious, and then we also see that with like Jews, right? That the Jewish people, they're insidious, they're trying to take over, they're here worried about the government, and but here we have literally,
other than the Israeli ones, they're fine.
Yeah, right. And
give them a ton
APAC.
of money.
Yeah, they don't talk about APAC.
Right.
So it's like here we have literally an example of a religious group who is this guy, and then later in the article he goes on to say like, oh, take this out, I don't want people to know, that's what I'm really, but this is what he's really saying is like, I am here to be a mole, I'm here to do these little things behind the scenes so they don't even know it's coming. These people think their kids are just going to public school. But here I am, you know? And so it's like, it's insidious, not just because of this, but because of people who are atheists, people who are pagan, people who are trying to send their kids to these schools in Texas
I'm waiting,
and wherever else.
I'm waiting for the Santeria priest to like work their way up, you know, because that's going to be real fun. I really want the chicken bloodletting class to be a thing.
Imagine if
that's going to be great.
Tried to do a fraction of this.
I'd be down with that.
Who, a sincere voodoo practitioner, tried to get any of this, and they were like, well, me and my kids, me and my community, any of us, Santeria, hoodoo, voodoo, we would get laughed out of the arena. Wiccans, the same thing. I mean, think about the times when there's been a Wiccan prayer. They've been shared for laughs. It is, because it's funny to think about a Wiccan praying to the north, the east, the south, and the west. Meanwhile, you're thinking about a Christian doing the same thing. But I mean, if there is a laughability to it, for some reason, they're given this credence, this like power. It's not seen as insidious as it is. But I swear, if like a random Buddhist had these same, inclinations, people would have something to say.
I definitely think the Satanists will show up on this one. They usually do.
They do.
For some reason. Like, I love explaining that to like a Baptist here who are like, wait, but it's Satan. I'm like, yeah, but they actually don't believe in Satan. It says it says that. Like, you know, they're just doing it to troll you. You get upset.
And they have time where other religious communities are actually doing their own religious thing. That's what I appreciate about Satanists, is that today they have time, because they always have time. And that's because that's really what they're here to do, is really call out that hypocrisy. That
their religion literally says they aren't a religion and that you should not believe in a God. That is their religion, you know? So,
but yeah, so this guy tried to like the Tommy said, slide that language in, but then said that it was proprietary. Yeah, basically he doesn't want it public. That I'm going to be your advocate in overruling the school boards and the will of the local.
I have a copyright on casual racism.
So take that out, please. All right, now here's the last part, which is how did the 1776 curriculum like kind of get into place? All right, was that it was released in 21. It was inspired by a commission initiated by Trump to promote the patriotic education in response to the New York Times 1619 project, right? It insists that the curriculum is accurate, unbiased, and seeks to tell the entire grand narrative of the American story. I can't even tell that with a straight face, right? But according to Princeton University professor, the 1776 curriculum fundamentally distorts American history into a crusade of righteous conservative patriots against heretical big government liberals. Right. And it accurately depicts the founding fathers who owned slaves as closet abolitionists. Oh my God. Right?
Meanwhile, I mean, imagine painting Jefferson's story
as an abolitionist, right?
Yeah.
Like the guy who raped more slaves than anyone in American history.
And he's somehow an abolitionist. No, he really wanted to free her, though.
Right, and progressivism is fundamentally anti-American and a rejection of the principles of the Declaration of Independence. Okay.
I say this as somebody who loves watching it for fun, but I feel like this is Alexander Hamilton-esque musical revisionist bullshit.
Yes.
Like where you
Yeah.
you know how it's like black men rapping about, you know, being a founding father, or like, you know what I mean? But it's like,
Yeah.
this is not reality.
This
Reality
is
was, these were very fundamentally sick people. Though
this
George
is
Washington and his wife like stalked one of her ex-slaves to the grave practically, because they were just so pissed at the idea that she did not like being their slave. These people were so sick. And it's just this idea that they think that it's not only that they think that they can rewrite it, it's that that's really naturally some of these people's beliefs. That's the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria, and Columbus, and this story of coming here for their freedom and not really coming here because they were bigots, and people were sick of their bigotry in Europe.
I wonder if they're going to talk about do they include Custer's Last Stand in this? Does that happen? Well, I hope so.
Yeah,
I hope they at least learn about that.
He only did that for benevolent reasons. He only wanted to help the Indians, right? He wanted to help the natives.
Yeah.
He's saying
they fucked him over. They fucked him over. Goddamn Indians!
Right? They could have had his hand. They could have had help.
Those barbarians.
Wow. The civil rights movement, the curriculum asserts, was turned into programs that ran counter to the lofty ideals of the founders. You mean holding slaves?
Yes.
Yeah, that would be
sorry,
and affirmative action.
So I couldn't even believe what I was reading, because it's the same way as how, you know, we always have MLK weaponized against us. You don't even know what these founders were fighting for.
No. When that started, my mother will remember you a tale of, you could also celebrate Jefferson Davis. It was also Jefferson Davis Day. So you could choose, like, no, that's not MLK for me. It's the presidency of the Confederacy. Like, that's my day, you know? Like, it's dumb shit like that. This is Kennedy never fucked Marilyn Monroe. This is like...
Oh, no, he did, because he's a Democrat. Like, but wait a minute, he's a Democrat. He definitely did.
Lincoln wasn't gay.
Eisenhower never gave the military-industrial complex speech. Nixon was a saint who never did anything wrong. Ford was a clown, but he happened to take over.
FDR was a cripple and a loser.
But of course, Ronald Reagan is the best president in the history of the world to these people.
He had a monkey.
He
had a monkey.
but here, so far about a dozen school districts, just to wrap this up, a dozen school districts from several different states have formally inquired about this 1776 curriculum, Hillsdale claims. In 2022, South Dakota's K-12 social studies standards were changed to align with it. That same year, Tennessee Governor Bill Lee announced his plans to open upwards of 50 new charters with its curriculum. In May of this year, lawmakers in Ohio introduced a bill that would replace the state's social studies curriculum with social studies standards inspired by the 76 curriculum. Holy shit. So, like, they really want to indoctrinate our kids with this bullshit story that the rest of the world knows is completely untrue, lie to our kids and tell them Santa Claus is real.
And Emmett Till never existed. Like, that's...
Worse, it's like Emmett Till was a tragedy, but you don't get to hear why it was a tragedy. That's the part that hurts.
I had to learn that shit from David Chappelle. That's who I had to learn that shit from.
Right.
Because I grew up in the South. So, like, we didn't get that.
But that's what's scary, is like exactly what you're saying. Like, okay, you didn't hear about it because you grew up in the South, but it's like, that's what they're trying to spread, is that we really don't even have like a basic foundation for stuff. Our kids don't have a basic foundation for stuff, because the basic foundation has to be that elementary school understanding of like, we're good. Everything we did was good. Anything that went wrong was an accident. It was never purposeful. It was never for a means to an end. And then even more insidiously, the part that really frustrates me the most is I would never have a problem with my kid going to a more, atheist-centered situation that was factually based. Okay, these are the bare facts. We're not even going to get into anything else. The issue is my kids are being asked to get into this incredibly Christian-based propaganda of how our country is, how our country was formed. It's white supremacist as well, because inherently by erasing a lot of this history, it becomes white centered. It becomes racially censored
completely
from my
whitewashed.
people, from anybody else's people. I wouldn't mind them hearing all of these other stuff if it was all factually based, but the issue is it's already biased. The 1776 narrative is already biased. There's a bias about who's being taught about, what part of their stories are being said, how their stories are being centered. So it's not so mean or insidious, or this part was wrong, or they were just basically flawed people, right? Because I'm sure Thomas Jefferson had his nice moments. I'm not going to say he was 100% terrible person.
Wife made a great ice cream.
But I am saying,
oh God,
there is like something to be said about how these things are being centered and focused, because the issue is they're so scared of being seen as the wrong person. It's like almost the white supremacy and this Christian evangelicalism, it works so quickly or so thoroughly hand in hand that you can't really even separate them from each other, because they just work so perfectly with each other. They mean each other. They're synonyms for each other. So every kid is being affected by this in schools. I was just so baffled by this whole situation, not just paying a charlatan such an exorbitant amount, which, by the way, everybody remember, this is not a meritocracy. This man with no education, with no qualifications, making so much money to speak drivel, should make every person who feels like they're struggling, at least it's not you. It's this situation, and it's working by design. It's this system, and it's working by design. It's so sick to me that he feels qualified, and he's like offended that anybody's even questioning him, that to the point where he's exaggerating his skill. He's like, I was a sub for X amount of years. I worked at the same college I went to for X amount of
how
years.
dare you?
How dare you question me? But the scholars who wrote the 1619 project, he doesn't care that you've questioned them and their expertise.
Look, I listened to 18 hours of Jordan Peterson. I know what I'm talking about. Right? I read Ayn Rand.
And I read Outlanders, and I didn't like it. Okay.
I guarantee you that we didn't know those blankets had polio.
right?
And if we did, it was the right thing to do. Okay.
Right. Always.
That's what we're arguing against. Even
Always.
if we did, it was the right thing to do. And how dare you question that or belittle anybody who made such a sick decision?
Unreal.